Hey everybody, OJ from Fluid MotorUnion. Today I've got a 528 in here with the check engine light on. Now it's got some fuel fault codes and I'm going to go over what I'm going to have to do to fix this. Alright, so the fault I've got is cylinder injection shutdown. This is basically the pressure being too low in the high pressure system. That's typically indicative of the high pressure pump failing. So we're going to go through, clear out the fuel and replace this pump. On the F10 528s, the fuse panel is in the back here. I'm going to pull fuses 135, 139, and 184. Now the reason I'm doing this is because the high pressure fuel system can be dangerous to open, just cold turkey. So you want to alleviate the fuel pressure by cranking the car over to make sure that you're not doing something dangerous. With the fuses out, crank the car over until it no longer starts and just cranks. So it's going to sound like this. Once you've got it there, then you know that all the fuel's out of the car. You're going to be able to take the fuel pump off. All right, so I've got a Bosch OE replacement pump that's going on this car, but we also have a connector that's going to update the style of the connection for the car and a new line. We're going to start by removing the engine cover. Now there's two tricky connectors here. You push forward and squeeze to get them off. This is for the vacuum canister. Set that to the side. This exposes where the high pressure fuel pump's at, which is right here. We're going to go ahead and take off the sound deadening. Just move it to the side because I don't want to rip it. That's going to allow us to access the bolts to remove here. So earlier we alleviated the fuel pressure. This is why. When cracking the high pressure lines, the pressure can be so high that it could cause harm to your skin, fingers, if fuel gets in there. So we want to just do this carefully. I'm going to throw a rag over it as I'm cracking, just so that way there's a barrier between me and the fuel, but it should already be out. Put this rag down here. All right, so the lines are free, and now we're going to access the two torx bolts on the pump itself. All right, so it's a T30. I'm just going to go ahead and crack those loose. Put those bolts to the side. And now this pump should be ready to come out. All right, so now I'm going to remove the pump. You're going to want to take this time to inspect the seal, just to make sure it's not going to be a point of leak later on. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this. The seal looks still pretty soft, pliable. I'm thinking it's still doing a good job sealing. I'm going to clean it up and reuse it. Alright, so now that we got that, we're going to place the pump down. Make sure your fuel lines are roughly in place. Should line exactly back up. Now we're going to take care of that line. All the pressure should be out of the system, so you shouldn't have to worry about fuel spraying out. Maybe drips, but that should be it. You're going to need a smaller E-torx here to get this bracket off and allow the piece to actually come out. Reassembly is reverse of installation. Pump goes on pretty easy, put your connections back and you should be good to go. This is the new connector that got spliced into the harness. As you can see, it's a different style because of the updated pump, but it goes right on there. All right, so we're gonna jump back in here and clear the fault codes before we try to start it. I also placed the fuses back in so that way fuel pressure builds once we get it. It's gonna take a little while to kick over, but that's no problem. One thing I like to do is delete adaptations and make sure the injector quality compensation is set. All right, now that the faults are all clear, I'm gonna go ahead and try to start it. It won't start first time, but we gotta build fuel pressure first. There we go. So no faults are immediately coming back, which is what I want. The fuel trim faults are gone. So we're gonna go just double check for leaks, make sure we don't see any gas in the ground, but if all's good, we're done. So if you're having trouble with your high pressure fuel system, give us a call at Fluid Motor Union. We'll be sure to help you out. Thanks a lot.